Welcome to Just Talk with your host, Kimberly, known as Cab, and LaShonda Kendall, known as LK. We're here today to talk with you about a topic that we found to be really packed with a lot of gems. We want to talk with you about clean space. Audience, we're coming to speak to you, married women, women who are seeking to be married, and men, you're welcome to listen in too.
Awesome. Thank you, Kim. Thank you so much for that awesome announcement. So we got these topics together just by random conversation as married women. And then we thought, oh, wow, somebody needs to hear this, right? Like, you ever have those conversations where you're like, oh, I needed this to be on live so everybody could just know it and we wouldn't have to repeat it? Because there are people that have these questions or just need to know. And why not share? If you're successful in anything, you should be able to share. If you're going through something and learn something, you should be able to share, right?
That's right. That's what we're here for.
So we've broken up some segments on basically creating a space, keeping a space. And so when we think about space, there's lots of different aspects of how to manage that space. And so this topic today is about clean space. So when we talk about clean space, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? Some people may think, oh, get the Lysol out, get the Windex, get the mop and the broom, we're about to clean the space. Some people think about the air, no pollution, no smoking, nothing toxic that you're breathing in. But in the space of relationships, it is all of those things. So I wanted to just start out with a quick verse that I found in the Bible, 1 Peter, 2nd chapter, verses 1-3. So clean house, and this is the Message version because King James ain't talking like this.
Come on.
So clean house, make a clean sweep of malice and pretense, envy and hurtful talk. You've had a taste of God. Now, like infants at the breast, drink deep of God's pure kindness. Then you'll grow up mature and whole in God.
Woo.
So holding on to that verse and taking that into relationships, Cap, tell us what a clean space means to you in a relationship.
Wow, that scripture just said it all. I believe a clean space is just that, making sure that you clean up not just your surroundings, but you as an individual, making sure that you get this temple clean, your mind, your mouth, your thoughts, your way of living. Make sure you clean up everything about you. Like for me, for example, I remember God speaking to me and just telling me, it's time to clean house. And I took it as if he was telling me to physically clean the house. So I went bananas getting things cleaned. I went from the attic to the basement and I had a whole buttload of stuff sitting at the front of the house. Neighbors were driving by like, Kim, are you moving out? I'm like, no, I just happened to clean out the house. Well, it just so happened it looked like I moved out half of my house, And when God came back and he spoke to me once again about what he was telling me when he said clean house, he said, I was speaking in reference to your spirit, your foul thoughts, your foul mouth, your way of your behaviors that are toxic. And it really hit home for me because I started looking at myself and I'm like, oh, snap. Wow. Yeah, I need to work on how I talk, how I respond, my tone. A lot of times we don't even think about it, but our tone can set the room either on fire or it can cool the room down. And your tone alone can cause a lot of ruckus. I've been in a room where I've shifted the whole environment just by my tone and even by my presence, how you talk to people, how you come off. In a relationship, you have to be mindful of these things. You don't want your spouse or your significant other to feel like they're a child and you're talking to them as if they're a child. Oh my God, so keeping in mind how you sound when you say things, that's really important. And as a woman, a lot of times I wear my emotions on my sleeve. So all it takes is for my husband to sound like he's raising my voice and I crack. I'm worse than the kids. I'm like, hold up, pump brakes. Did you just say it like that? And I'm falling apart. Can you imagine if you're the one on the other side and you're the one with the tone and you're the one that have a problem with curving your words, not knowing how to really talk to people, how you're hurting others? If I break down off just my husband's tone towards me, imagine how others are breaking down just off of your tone. So clean house and clean space to me is making sure you're preparing a space that's not toxic, a space that's safe for someone to just let go.
Yeah.
Take a deep breath and just release what's inside.
Right.
There's no better thing in this world than to be able to come home and just take a deep breath and release everything that you went throughout the whole day without being judged. That judgment-free zone.
Yeah.
That's what clean space is for me.
Yeah. And what about when you come home and there's not something for you to have to clean up?
Woo.
Right? There's not, you didn't avoid coming home because of the
Right.
mess that was at home. Because I know I have said, I don't want to do the laundry. I'm going to go to Ross and buy a new shirt. Because I'm just going to go avoid the mess, right? Like, you don't want to create a situation where people are having to avoid the space that's in you for as long as they can, right? And then they come home and they only have time to sleep, or they only have time for the 5 minutes with you before you go to your job. So another thing that I think of when I think about cleaning the space is making sure that everything that you've gone through is not something that you have to continue to battle.
Wow. That's
Letting
good.
go of all those old things. So when we clean out our closets, we let go of those jeans that we cannot wear that we had in high school. We're not gonna wear them. Just let them go, right? We let go of those skates, those rollerblades. Who's skating right now at this age? We let go of the things that we held on to because they meant something back then, or because somebody gave them to us and we just have to keep them. But that's the same as holding on to the trauma that we've experienced that somebody gave us. The same thing as holding on to the bad habits that we've learned or picked up because of what we grew up in. So letting all of that go and therapizing yourself, going to a therapist, learning how to be more self-aware so that your space is always a clean space. And I think it's hard for people sometimes to take that in, because in the Black community, therapy is like a bad T word, right? I'm crazy. I ain't going to no therapist. Who talk to who? I'm talking to you, like there's no,
That's right. That's right.
There's really not a lot of support to do therapy, or to at least go get some type of clarity on the way that you are and why you are that way. And if you don't do that, then you may be passing down some of those bad habits or some of that trauma to the people in your space, your spouse, your children, your relatives, your friends. And you may not know it, they may not know it either, but it will continue a cycle. So a clean space means, let me go learn if what I'm doing is the right thing to do.
That's right.
If how I encourage my spouse, my partner, my friend, my children, my relatives, is that the right way to encourage? How I lift them up, do I lift them up? Am I doing enough to show that I am being loving, kind, patient, enduring? Am I doing all the things to love and create a safe space? Or am I perpetuating the same negative, toxic behavior that I was taught?
That's right.
And that I brought into my new space. Because, when we moved out, I don't know about you, but when we moved out, we took our old bedspread,
Come on.
that ratty pillow that should have been thrown away 10 years ago, right? We took our sheets. If we could have, we took our furniture, right? But all of that stuff should have stayed at the old place. When you got a new space, you should have got brand new things. Of course, we can't afford it because we can barely afford to move out when we first move out. But
Come on.
you got, I'm just only for people who can't. You understand? But
That's right.
you brought those things that lived in the space that you grew up in, and that
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Those things you hold on to are the things that shape you. While some of those things make you awesome, right? Make you a great person. Some of those
Mm-hmm.
things also hold you back.
That's
And
right.
if you're letting those things hold you back, you can't grow, and your relationships are going to eventually hit a plateau.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're
Mm-hmm.
at the plateau right now, think about some things to clean up.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That's good. That's some deep, backdoor cleaning that you have to do. You really have to dig deep and uproot those things that have grown up in you from, like you said, childhood scars or previous relationship scars, making sure you don't become the bag lady. I was listening to the song today, and it just happened to come on the radio, and she was just like, Erykah Badu. She said, bag
Bag
lady,
lady,
come on,
don't miss your bus.
you gonna miss your bus. Why? Because you dragging all them bags with you, honey.
And you can't
You
hurry up.
And nobody wants to come in your space because you got so much baggage with you. When
Yeah.
I began to listen to those lyrics, I thought about this very topic. I'm like, ooh, whoa. It hit me totally different from
Yeah.
growing up and hearing bag lady. I'm like, coming up, you thinking bag lady is like, the lady who's walking down a New York street with all these bags and she's just, no. She's talking about you carrying all your baggage from previous situations into new situations. I love how the Bible says, and you mentioned this even in our conversation piece at one time, where you can't take new wine and pour it into old wine skins. Like, you have to burst out of those skins in order to receive the new that's supposed to come to you.
Yeah.
So in other words, I see this as an opportunity that God's really given us a visual, like we can actually see what it means to have and create a clean space. That means unpacking all of that, all those luggages that you got, the past, the abandonment, the rejection,
Girl.
The folk who scarred you with their words, the folk who walked away from you and didn't think twice about it.
Mm-hmm.
The ones who drove knives into you and did not even think twice about what they had done. This is an opportunity, like, we have to unpack these wounds so that we don't leak all over the place, so that we don't re-injure people just because we were injured. We can't make our spouses or the people that we're seeking to invite into the clean space, we have to be careful not to injure them and not to weigh them down with what other folks did. It's not that person's fault that this person walked out. It's not the new that you asked for, the new that you're seeking. It's not the new fault that you endured, the hardships that you endured.
Yeah.
And so we have to unpack, we have to clean house, we have to detox.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not just saying that I'm saying I myself from personal experience, I remember what it meant for me to go through a mental, spiritual, and physical detox. What it meant to cut the ties, soul ties, what it meant to cut the cords to these things that I was dragging along. Bag lady, remember, she got all this baggage, she dragging it right along. Matter of fact, she even get a grocery cart and throw all her bags into this grocery cart because she's that determined. She's gonna push all her junk into her next season.
Girl.
Nobody wants to have you and all your luggage that you're dragging along from decades ago into the new of what God is trying to do.
Yeah.
We say we prayed, and there was another song that popped on the radio. I'm telling you, through songs today, I was hearing all kinds of stuff. I'm like, oh snap! It's imperative that we we understand, number one, the baggage, nobody's going to want to be in your environment. Matter of fact, they run away from you.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to avoid you.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard you say that, people will avoid toxic and overwhelming spaces.
Yeah.
Me personally, if I go into a crowded space and there's smoke, I do not like smoke.
Yeah.
So guess what I do? I find a way to avoid the smoke. I find a way, if I have to walk to the other side of the street just to avoid that smoke, that's what I'll do.
Yeah.
And that's what happens in this life. It's like, as women and even as men, sometimes we feel like, well, me and my baggage, if you don't set all of me and my damage, all of me and my brokenness, then you ain't, I guess you ain't. Well, you and all your brokenness, you and all the baggage, you got to unpack.
Yeah.
And you got to clean that space up for what you're seeking for.
That's right. And like you said, Bag Lady, and that is my song. Because when I was a kid, everywhere we'd go, I had to have my bag of stuff. I had to have my books. I had to have my notebook. I had to have my special pens. I had to have some pads. I had to have a Tylenol. I had to have a snack. I had to have all my things because sometimes we would go places and not come home. Like we wouldn't come right back home, and I'd be somewhere bored, and I always had a book. I was always reading a book. And so my grandmother would say, okay, here comes the Bag Lady. Long before the song came out, I just was like, wow. I gotta have my stuff. I can't be bored. Y'all be trying to have me sit in the lobby, blah, blah, blah. And for a long time, even when the song came out, I was like, yeah, I can be a bag lady. I always got a bag. I always got something in my bag. I'm always ready. But we hold on to things just because someone said we should, or someone gave us the name, and we get so attached to what somebody gave us that we don't necessarily see it as something we should have, but something that we're going to keep because they gave it to us, right? Because that's the nickname they gave me. It's no problem. Instead of thinking, Bag Lady, hold on, what does this lyric say? The lyrics say you can't even get where you trying to go because you can't. You're going to miss all your open opportunities. You're going to miss all the things that you're supposed to be getting into because you got all this stuff you carrying. Right? And he gonna say, you got too much stuff, I got to go. And he gonna be the one you want, the one you need, but you got all this stuff crowding his space, right? And I think about, as you were talking, all the things that we need to be letting go. If it is for anybody, if it's hard for you to let it go, if it's hard for you to change, go back and think about where you got it from. Who gave it to you? Who gave you that mouth? Because people take pride in some of the toxic things that they own, that they have. I'm going to just say it like it is, or I speak my mind. That's fine. But if you don't do it in a tactful, peaceful way, it's just noise. And if you don't do it in a loving way, from love, it's bitterness, and no one's going to take you serious, and they're going to think you immature and can't be bothered with you. So that whole, I'm just... I just say what I'm forward. I just say I'm blunt.
I say what's on my mind.
What did you get that from though? and the people that you got that from, them relatives, that aunt, that grandma, that's like that, are they alone?
Come on. Woo.
Do they have a lot of friends?
Say that again.
When they have a birthday party, is it just you singing happy birthday, or is it like, do they have people celebrating them? How many people celebrate that toxicity that you are replicating and you're proud to own it, right?
Wow.
Or how many people are so supportive of your arrogance that you know everything, that you're better than everybody, including your spouse, that he's beneath you, that she's just nothing? How many people are supportive of that because that's what you were taught?
That part.
You were taught to be the head of the household no matter what. You were taught to always have all of this stuff on point and do it by yourself. You don't need nobody else. But then you wanted to be in a relationship.
Wow.
Which was it? And
Mhm.
what are you holding loyal to? Because
Mm.
people will hold on to these, what they call their personality, and it's not. It's just a behavior that they do over and over again. They will hold on to that because they're being loyal to a parent,
Mm.
to an uncle or aunt, to somebody that is important to them that they don't want to let down. They don't
Wow.
want to have to say, yeah, that was kind of harsh. And actually, if I wasn't like that, I could have been better. I could have been further.
Mm.
But I don't want you to think something's wrong with you. So I'm gonna keep that going. I'm gonna keep that cycle going for you. People don't necessarily think that far
Mm.
into their habits. So when you're cleaning your house, what is the thing that you got to stop doing?
Come on.
You need to
Wow.
stop saying things like that. You need to be more like this. When you clean out your pantry, you don't need all them Oreos. You need to throw them chips out because
Come on.
you said you was on a diet. You said you were gonna do better.
Mm-hmm.
But you won't, because why? You already paid money for it, you invested, so
Mm-hmm.
you're
Mm-hmm.
gonna keep going with the bad habits.
Mm.
Get rid of it.
Come on.
Let it go.
That's right.
You're only
Clean
gonna
up.
do yourself a favor if you
Mm-hmm.
don't. I mean, if you do,
Mm-hmm.
excuse me. If you
Yeah.
don't, you just gonna continue driving those wedges.
Mhm. Well, you was right. You're gonna do yourself a favor because you're gonna talk yourself out of a blessing.
Yeah.
You're gonna talk yourself out of a relationship. And honestly, you are doing yourself a favor because nobody deserves to be pummeled
Yeah.
with all of your baggage.
Yeah.
Nobody should have to be hit upside the head with
Yeah.
all of your baggage. As a matter of fact, I love what you said. It's like the if you think about it, it's even scriptural where it says it's better to be on a rooftop than in a house with a brawling woman.
Yeah.
Like,
What?
bruh will avoid coming home if he got to come home to a nagging wife. If he
Mm.
got to come home to issues, if he got to come home all the time and there's a struggle of masculinity, there's a
Mm.
struggle of who is the man, who wears the pants, who
Mm.
makes more money, who should do this and who should do that. I'll never forget when my husband and I got together, I was so used to wearing the hat of everything
Mm.
from the plumber to the electrician to, I mean, I was the landscaper.
Yeah.
I power washed the house. I would get up on ladders. My neighbors would see me working every single weekend, cleaning 3 cars in the driveway. I was so used to wearing all of these hats until when God blessed me with a good thing, I'll never forget his words to me. He came outside one day. I was on the roof, power washing the house. And he looks up and he says, if you don't come down from on top of that house, you're going to have all the neighbors looking at me wondering what kind of man am I to be letting my woman do these types of things. Now let me be the man and take care of the things that a man should be taking care of.
Hmm.
If that did not blow my socks off, I don't know what was more sexier. Him coming out there and making me get off that roof, or him telling me, listen, I'm here now. I've
Yeah.
assumed the position of the man. Now let me be that man.
Yeah.
You no longer have to wear all the hats because that's why God equipped me and
Yeah.
gave me to you so that you don't have to do that. Now stay in your role, be the wife, do the wifely things that you should do, and let me be the man. That changed my life forever. Now, I watched for decades. Like you said, you see from generation to generation to generation, you see all the baggage that your mama, your grandmother, your auntie, and your aunts, and your uncles, and all of them, you see them carrying on all of the behavior that has now become a norm for your family name. Everybody knows this family by name. They fighters. They don't, marriage doesn't last. By name, they know you as the brawlers. They know you as, oh, you'll cuss somebody out at the drop of a hat. And because they're known for that, you decide to fall in alignment and
Yeah.
carry that out.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, if I wouldn't have come off that roof, and if I would have never stopped assuming the position of my husband, of a man, then the space that I had cleaned and made ready to receive what I said I was asking God for, that space would have become so cluttered until it would have drove him away.
Yeah.
Because then there would have been no space for the man.
Right. But you
And
know what
that's
you did? That's what you did. What you did is said, "Oh, okay. I will agree with what you just said."
Mhm.
And part of a clean space is that there is understanding of what this space is for,
Mm.
what we're
Wow.
in this space to do,
That's right.
who is in this space, who's going to do
Mhm.
what.
Mhm.
Because agreement is how we get things done.
That's right.
Now, it would have been different because I remember brother told me about you being on the roof. And if you could have seen his whole face and his whole attitude, you know this chick was up on the roof. She was trying to, do you understand? Like he was hot fire.
Yeah, he was.
He
was
her
bad.
foot down, and he was just like so bothered. I don't even know why he brought that up, but he was so bothered by it. But he said she got down. I said, okay. Was she mad about it? He's like, no, she got down. She came on and she said thank you. And I said, so why are you still mad about it? He said, I just can't believe, right? But think about if there was no agreement.
That's right.
And a lot of men don't necessarily know how to go off and articulate that frustration to their friends.
Yeah.
And so they stay in this space of frustration.
Mm.
And then if you didn't agree, then he's got to be out of alignment with you. And he can't really talk about it with anybody else. Because if he goes off and tells his friend that his wife is up here doing what he thinks is his job, then he's gonna be a punk. He's gonna be this, he's gonna be that, they're gonna look down on him, right? So he gotta keep that part to himself. So then he's gotta keep this to himself, and then he can't agree with you. So he's sitting there like that.
Wow.
And the space is gonna get real tight until something pops and everything is laid out and the house is totally in disarray.
Yeah. Wow.
And everything breaks. So agreement is part of that clean space, because it could be your role that you power wash the house and he go in the house and he shine the floors. There's nothing wrong with that. There's no word, no book that says the man can only do this and the woman doing this is something wrong with her. You agreed on what the roles are going to be. When he said, oh no, that's my role, I'm gonna need you to come on down, and you said, yes, all right, I will do that, then you have agreement.
That's right.
And if everything is a constant disagreement, because you said it before, if you can't agree on who's supposed to do what, who's responsible for what, who's the head of the household, if you can't ever agree on that, the house is never going to be a clean space. Because now it's filled with your argument, your bitterness, your competition, because you're going to compete with each other. You're not going to be able to root for each other. You're not going to be able to support whatever thing you really want to do. Right? Because you're so busy bumping heads with this person, and all that bumping is just going to create extra dirt, extra drama, extra trash around the house.
Wow.
You got to let it go. And you got to let go of the idea of what social media said or TV said you supposed to be, or your husband is supposed to be, or whatever, if you're your wife. You got to let go of, like, people create these fairy tale people. And they say, this is who I'm going to marry, and I'm going to marry him like this, and we're going to wear these clothes, and we're going to be the blah, blah, blahs. And they have this fairy tale, and they meet a person that they think kind of fit. They kind of the same height, they almost the right build, but I can change them. I can work with that. I've heard women say that. Oh my God.
Oh God.
And it makes me want to scream. I can work with that. No, you can't. No. If you said that, that ain't the one for you. Keep on.
That's right.
Somewhere else. But people will say, I can change them. I can make them be what I need them to be. And baby, when you do that, you break who God meant for that person to be.
Come on.
And you create a monster.
That's it.
And whether that monster is that person that turns into somebody that's going to eat you up, But
Mm,
it's either that or it's going to be the space that you create that you are not even going to be able to live in
mm, mm,
because
mm,
you
mm.
picked this person who
Stay
God
tuned
made
for
to do
part
this
two
other
of
thing,
Clean Space
and you
with
beat
Jess
them down
Talk.